This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast. Hey, friends, welcome to I'll Have Another podcast with Lindsay Hine. I'm your host, Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited for this conversation. We've got two-time Olympian Elise Cranny on the podcast today. It's been years since she's been on the show, and I am just so excited to have her back on. She has been an amazing athlete to watch over these last years, and she recently joined M11, which is a training group out of the UK. So I wanted to hear all about that transition. You know Elise, she ran at Stanford. She then ran for the Bowerman Track Club under Jerry Schumacher. She spent some time with Team Boss, and then she was coached by Jared Kornfield, who is now the NAU coach, but she was coached by him one-on-one there during the 2024 Olympic cycle for Paris. Just recently, about 10, 12 weeks ago, she joined this M11 team. So she's training with the likes of Georgia Bell, Keely Hodgkinson, and you're going to hear all about why she made that decision in this episode. Her focus on paying a little more attention to the 15. We saw her do that crazy double at the Olympic trials, running the 5,000 and the 15. In both the Tokyo Olympics and the Paris Olympics, she ran the 5,000. So that's definitely been her sweet spot. But it was really fun in this conversation to hear her talk about keeping like joy at the center of what she's focusing on and training for, and how her coach Jared, for that short period of time she worked with him, really helped her with that. This is easily one of the most comfortable and natural interviews I've ever done on this podcast. She's just so easy to talk to and cares so much about what she's doing. I'm really excited to share this with you, and I hope you enjoy getting to know Elise a little bit more in this episode. I do want to send you to noogsnutrition.com if you're looking for a great way to fuel that gives you the carbs and the electrolytes you need with the serious, delicious flavors. If you're like a Sour Energy or like a Sour Patch Kid fan, they're not that sour, first of all, but they have a little bit of that in them, and they're so good. Like, you know, when you're on a long run and you want something to look forward to, or you want a hit of something right before your run, this is where you need to go. I haven't run a marathon in a couple years, but I remember when I did, I would love to have like a couple chews right before the race starts, like 20 minutes before the race starts, to just get a little bit of glucose in my body. And man, Noogs, that's the dream right there. Give me like 3 or 4 Noogs right before a race starts. Dream. They have some that have caffeine, the caffeinated strawberry lemonade, and then the poolside pop. Both have caffeine in them. The rest of their flavors do not. They're delicious. This is a small business. Paige and Ben, husband-wife duo. She's a dietitian, so she's the mastermind behind creating these. She worked with a great science team to make just the most perfect fuel for your run. So go support this small business and also get the most delicious chews out there. Go to noogsnutrition.com and use the code ANOTHER15 for 15% off your order. If you are enjoying this podcast, we would love it so much if you would consider leaving us a rating and review on iTunes. And let me just do this, okay? For all of our new reviews in the month of February, we are going to pick one person to send your very own variety pack of Noogs to, okay? You want to try those Noogs? Go leave a rating and review. All you do is go to your iTunes app and click on my show and scroll to the bottom, and you'll see the tab to click leave a review. Thanks for being here, and enjoy my conversation with the lovely, the fierce Elise Cranny. All right, friends, I am so excited to have Elise Cranny back on the podcast. Welcome to the show, Elise.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like it's been a couple years since I've been on, so I'm excited to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been so long. I think you've been on twice, and I think the first time was with Emily Infeld during COVID.
Oh, I think it was. I was like, I feel like I couldn't remember if I had been on solo. I was like, I definitely feel like the first time I came on, it was like with Emily. So yeah.
Yeah, it was, maybe have you not been on solo?
I don't know.
Yes, you have. There's no way. There's no way.
I probably have been on, but I do remember coming on with Emily.
Yeah, and because I remember I said I was doing those Fun Friday episodes during COVID, and I was like, Emily, who do you want to join you? Pick any teammate, and she picked you, and so that was really fun. And you were
Yeah.
you were a newbie to the pro world then.
I know, I was such a newbie. I feel like I mean, at that point, I had barely been pro for like a year. And I feel like Emily and I spent so much time together during COVID because we had like really small like training groups because we couldn't all train together. So Emily and I were like a little
Hmm,
mini like pod training group. So we
that's
were
it.
doing all our sessions together during COVID.
Wow. Okay, so much has happened since then. You
Yeah,
are a
I know. I
two-time Olympian.
It's also crazy though, because I was just saying to my mom the other day, I was like, I still feel like I just joined the pro world and I'm realizing like, no, like I'm kind of like I'm like one of the people that like I feel like when I was young and I was like, oh my gosh, like pros that have been going for 5, 6, 7 years and they've done so many championships. And I'm like, wait, how did I go from like doing my first USA national championships to like, yeah, being like 6 years, 7 years deep of
Yeah,
being pro?
because if you think about it, like 6 years, it is a lot of time, but it's not at the same time. And the fact that you've done all these incredible things in that time period, it's like if you could go back to that Elise that we had on the interview that long ago, like if you had any idea what was going to transpire in the next 6 years, like you would never know. But like, what would you tell that person that young that young woman?
Oh, that's such a good question. I love that question too because I try to like think about that on a regular basis sometimes when I feel like just like you have these goals. Like I was just like reminiscing with someone the other day of like making my first Olympic team and it being like that's a dream since I was like really young, but then like I remember like Carissa and I raced the 5K together and we walked away like being super like upset with how we performed and it's just that crazy thing of like yeah, like, just, like, I don't know, looking back now of, like, I feel like it's so easy from the last 6 years to, like, pick out some things that, like, didn't go how you wanted, but then it's like, man, if Elise in 2019 knew that she would make, like, 2 Olympic teams and, like, multiple world teams and, like, yeah, kind of, like, be in a few different training groups and travel around the world and have these opportunities, it's like, that's when it really, like, puts it in perspective for you for sure.
Yeah, like, when and also going from, like, making the Olympic team is the dream come true to, like, I have to make the final, and I now my dream come true is the medal.
Yeah, for sure. It is so crazy how quickly, like, that all changes. Like, I would say especially just that first Olympic team in Tokyo is, like, so just, like, that memory is so clear to me. I again, feeling like Carissa and I were really in it together, I feel like, because we
Mhm.
didn't have, just, like, there were no fans or, like, family members or anything, so it felt like, wow, we're really, like, in this experience together, and I remember when both of us made the final, we were on such a high, and it is like so true.
Mm.
Like it's like, okay, you dream of making the Olympic team, but then you're there and you're like, okay, I like need to make the final and like and it is so crazy just how quickly it switched from like yeah, feeling like, okay, we made the final and we're like this is like such a high to then being like, man, I really want to like be in that top 5 and be like fighting for a medal. But yeah, that's like that very classic like quote of like, instead of looking at how far you have to go, you also have to like spend some time thinking like how far you've came. And just because
Mm.
like it was a goal, like still accomplishing that goal is a big thing, even if it's something like I think it's so easy for all of us to do that. Like when you have a goal and it's something you've always wanted, it's like when you do it, it's almost like more of like a relief or expectation versus like you should still celebrate it because that was like a big goal that you had, which is like I think very hard for people to do in life in general.
Oh, for sure, because you just wanna keep going. You wanna keep climbing
Yeah.
and keep doing the
Yeah.
next best thing. And then you have to but then you do. You have to sit back and think, "Oh, wait, that's really cool what I did. Like,
Yeah,
that's really
yeah.
cool what I accomplished, and I need to sit in that for sure."
Yeah, yeah, it's a fine balance for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I will say when I watch you on TV at the Paris Olympics and even the Olympic trials, even compared to trials 4 years prior, You just look serious business, Elise. Like, you got those shades on and you see Elise out there and you're like, "Oh, man, she is here to tear it up." Like, do you feel that confidence shift internally that you've had?
For sure. I think it's funny looking back, like when you ask too about my first couple years pro, like when I was with Bowerman, and I remember Matthew Centrowitz was on the team, and he like would tell me a lot. He was like, Elise, like you need to develop your like alter ego on the track. Like he was like, I see when you like do workouts and stuff, like you're really fierce, but he's like, you have to separate your like personality and your niceness from when you get
Oh.
on. So that is funny too about like I feel like I got really into the last couple years, like really into the shades, and I feel like that helps
Mhm.
with that. It's just like, okay, this is like a different like space, and yeah, I do think that is such an important part of it, and kind of like a very fun part of it too, of like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get in this like alternate space kind of here, and yeah, I feel like that's what I really have always like loved about running, like the competition aspect, but also feeling like just that very like, even when I think back to like when I first got into running, like I feel like I loved it and was really into it because of how like confident and empowered I feel like it made me. So I feel like I've been trying to like channel that more of like, this is what you really like love about running, so how can you kind of like show up as that and like manifest that in your races.
It does seem like you've got this, like, very focused pose almost, like the power pose is there and you're ready to go.
Yeah, yeah, I think for sure. I think, that's like funny too. I think that sometimes just where you like learn and grow and find out what like works for you. And I think for a while I was like, okay, maybe I should try to be like that super like smiley and having fun, which I do love, and I feel like I'm like that way on like a warm up if I'm warming up with teammates or I'm listening to
Yeah.
music, but I do feel like yeah, I just feel like it helps me like get in the zone when you stand on the line and you're just like, okay, for like 4 minutes or 15 minutes or 30 minutes, like, I'm just, like, really locked in and just, like, very focused. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Okay, well, we have so much to cover. You have joined this M11 team out of the UK. You're in South Africa right now. So many like things to talk about as far as like training groups and coaches and whatnot. Let's start with M11 though, and the decision to join this team.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've just been with them about 10 weeks, so very new still, but, before I was being trained by, Jared Cornfield, who's now the director at, NAU, and we've known each other for like 10 years. So I feel like when I was kind of in between groups, it made a lot of sense because I had a lot of like trust in him and I felt like we knew each other really well. And it was really great. I was just like, toward the end of last year, really missing out on having training partners. And I feel like, it's funny when we talk about like my first couple years pro is like, I kind of wanted to get back to that where you feel like
Mm.
a newbie in the sport and you're around people that like have done the things that you wanna do, and you feel, like, very out of your comfort zone at every single, like, workout and every single day because you're just surrounded by people that are, like, so much better than you, and I think that's something that I really started to crave again is just, like, wanting to feel like kind of a beginner in the sport again and be out of my comfort zone. So I also, like, haven't really had, I guess, with COVID, like, moved the Olympics, so there hasn't really been, like, an off year in kind of all
Mm.
my time as a pro, so I also felt like this was a good time to, like, make a big change because you kind of have a year where you can, like, race and kind of try out some new things, and kind of get ready for, like, the next Olympic cycle, and, yeah, I really had been kind of following M11 and what Keely and Georgia and Sarah Healy and Erin Wallace and the rest of the team have been doing for the last like year or two, and it just seemed like a really great group of people, and I had a Zoom call with the two coaches, Jenny and Trevor, and just like felt really like comfortable with them and felt like we had like a very similar vision, which I feel like you just like get that feeling,
Oh.
and so yeah, definitely like a very big change, a big move. But it's been really good so far, and it is really pushing me out of my comfort zone, and I think it's really like um yeah, it just like made me like really kind of given me a renewed excitement about running
Mm.
again.
That's important too, especially on an off
Yeah.
year. Yeah, like what are you going to
Yeah, for
focus on?
sure.
Well, it seems like the group is like a shorter distance focused group, like 815. And I know that you've always talked about like you love the 15. And you did that like crazy double at the 2024 trials. But we also all know that like you are like one of the best to ever do it at the 5,000. So talk about that and like focusing on the 15 more.
Yeah, I think, similar with it being an off year, and I just feel like I haven't really since it's funny looking back because I think that's like something that would have surprised like younger Elise when I was first coming out of college because basically I had pretty much like only run the 1500 in college, like maybe 1 or 2 5Ks aside from cross country. And so I think for a while I thought like I'll be a 1500-meter runner. And then it's funny, I'm like, there's been no season since I've been pro that I've probably done more than like 2 1500s. In a year. So I think that kind of came from like I actually feel like it really started at the 2024 trials. Like I'm grateful that, Jared was like, we can do the 10 and the 5. And he's like, you probably would have a better chance of like maybe making the team in the 10K than the 1500. And he's like, or we can like really do what like excites you.
Mm.
And he's like, I think that. And I am like so grateful for him for telling me that because I think at that point in like just during that year I wasn't overly excited about the 10 and like I had so much fun doing the 1500 and like going through the rounds and being in that final that was just like such a fast race. Like it was just like I feel like an iconic race to be a part of. I don't remember the exact stats, but I think like 8 or 10 people under 4 minutes. It was like crazy.
Crazy. Would you
I
run
feel like seeing
356?
357. Yeah, and I was
357.
sixth, which was crazy. Like I feel like the top 4 or 5 ran like 355 or 356. It was just like crazy. But I think that's when I started to think about it more of like, oh, I loved doing those rounds. I loved that race.
Mm.
And I think it was just fun that we like approached it just kind of like, okay, we'll do this as like a bonus after the 5K, but then feeling like, wow, when you're not really paying attention to the splits and you're just racing, like we definitely like surprised ourselves by running 357. So, yeah. And then I guess the other piece is like, I feel like if I look at my like championship racing, I feel like I've been a little bit like stuck between like ninth and 12th place. And I feel like a lot of that has actually been like my speed. I just feel like at the top
Mm.
level in the 5K and 10K, it's like the last K you have to be lights out, the last 400, the last 200, it's just like crazy. So I feel like I'm like improving my strength and getting closer and closer to like being there at the end. But I still feel like when there's that like championship racing like switch, I just feel like I get left in the dust. So I think that was kind of a consideration too, is like I really want to focus on the 1500 this year, but also, not totally closing the door on the 5, but feeling like, okay, developing like this skill
Mm.
set I know will really help me on like the global level, which is like, I feel like, yeah, just like when you feel like you've kind of been stagnant for a bit, it's like you want to try something different too.
That is so, so smart. And also, I feel like I love that your coach was like, you got to do what is fun. Like, you got to do what, like, you enjoy more than anything. I also wonder if it was hard knowing I could be doubling at the Olympics. Like, if my chance is better at making the 10,000. Also, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, those 10,000 women were probably like, oh my gosh, yay, Elise isn't running.
No, I think like it is. I think it just really is cool that I feel like him helping me make that decision also just was like very much like how he coached me and what he stands for, which is just yeah, like again, sounds cliche, but like just really focusing on like what's going to help better you as an athlete and like what is going to excite you and what are you, passionate about instead of like, okay, what like might you have like the most success in? And I do feel like, even before the Olympics, I feel like doing that like really helped my 5K and like, yeah, like I said, it was just so much fun. I feel like I look back at the 2024 trials and it's like probably one of the like highlights of my career thus far because I just feel
Mm.
like I had so much fun racing and he had me even I don't know, he had me just be so much like really let go of any fear. Like I feel like we raced each round like differently. Like one round, I'm trying to remember, like he was like, take it early on. One round it was like wait till the last 400. So I feel like it was also just a really fun way to be like you're at the US Olympic trials, which is, something that is like ultimately like stressful for everyone and like a very intense environment. But like, I feel like just looking at it in little pieces like that of like, okay, how can we work on getting better within this race while also competing, just made it like, I don't know, just so much easier to like focus on one thing and focus on like how can I get a little bit better today and not be like so overwhelmed by like this is the Olympic trials, like I have to do something, crazy. And so I think yeah, I do feel like that was like a very big like important moment in my career to like just like think about that differently and think about like why are you making a decision to race a certain event.
It's cool that even though he was only your coach for such a short period of time, it was a really big, important period of time, but just hearing like the impact someone could make on your life and influence in that. I know you've known him for a long time, but it just shows that like even if it's a small period of time, you can still make a huge impact on someone's life and career. And because did you only work with him for like a year even?
A little over a year. It was probably like a year and a half. So yeah, but it was like, I think I just am like so grateful because it came at the perfect time and it was like exactly what I needed. Yeah, like even in a sport that is so like results and outcome oriented, he really like helped me move away from that. And yeah, like you said, it was the perfect time because I feel like I started working with him in like March or April of the Olympic year, so it was, like, very crazy, like, especially that first year, there was just, like it felt
Oh
like
my
there was
gosh.
no time, we were kinda just, like, throwing it together, but it was also, like, so fun to to really have that experience and, like, having him in Tokyo and, like, again, I've known him for so long, but he's just, I feel like, gotten really close with my family and, like, we've gotten
Mm.
close with his family, and it was, like, very special to have that, like, kind of, like, deeper relationship and, like I said, that, like, trust and, um, yeah, all of that there when you're working with someone.
And is he now the head coach at NAU?
Yeah, yeah, he
Okay,
is.
for those listening that might not know. And then tell us, like, what was going on in that time period? Like, how long were you without a coach between, because this was between going with Team Boss for a little bit and then him coaching
Yeah.
you. What was that period of time like?
Yeah, it was I'm trying to think. It was pretty short. So like end of 2023, like fall of 2023, I joined Team Boss and was with Team Boss until like February, March of 2024. And then I feel like at that point I just like was not ready to jump back into a group again. I had just left Bowerman and I feel like I had just kind of been stuck in a cycle of like overtraining and like kind of found myself back there in like February. So then like reached out to Jared. Like we had kind of kept talking over the years. Like he was just someone that I always kind of like bounced ideas or took advice from. So um that was like really cool. I feel like it just happened like very naturally, which is nice too. And I feel like I joke with my family now of like I feel I'm so close with my parents and I have two younger sisters and I feel like they usually are like so helpful in helping me make decisions, but I think what was special about this is they hadn't known like Jared too well at the time, but it just like felt like that thing, where you just like really trust your gut and it's like this is just like something and someone is telling me that like I just need to
Mm.
like call up Jared and I just need to like work with him and like even though it's um yeah, like, looking back, it's like, okay, yeah, that's not an ideal time to, like, make a coaching change in an Olympic year, but it just, like I felt, like, so much, like, peace with it and with the decision, and, it's funny too, and, like, because he was in flag, so we were, like, pretty much working remote, like, all the way leading up to the Olympic trials, but like I said, I just feel, like, so grateful that we had that, like, 10-year, friendship beforehand of like it just felt like our communication and all of that made it like pretty seamless, which was nice. So, yeah, I feel like in between I tried to coach myself or not even really for like a week or two and I was like I could just never ever do that. I am so impressed with anyone that can do that. I would just absolutely never be able to do that.
You want to be given workouts. Like you want to be told how to structure your training.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I talk to a lot of like professionals and like I think just people in general is like you need a coach to like hold you back. Like, I think that's the most important thing. I feel like, you know, when you're like passionate about something and you have a goal, it's so easy to just like want to do more or run harder. And I think it's so important to like have a coach that just like provides that structure of like very specific times to go hard, but also like prevent you from getting burnt out. Cause it's like, okay, yeah, not every day should be like you're just going deep into the well.
Hey, hey, everybody. Are you checking out the Amazfit watch yet? I'm serious. Like this watch, it is the new thing that everybody is wearing. The price point to Amazfit watches is crazy good. The battery life is crazy good. And this is the way to go. If you are in the market for a new GPS watch or tracker of any kind, the wearables with Amazfit are incredible. I use the Balance 2 and absolutely love it. It has over 160 workout modes, which is crazy. Basically, any sport you do or activity, you're going to find it on there. Like I can use it for pickleball, I can use it for swimming. I love it so much. And also, if you are like, if you have kids and they want a watch that has like the fitness tracking stuff and things like that, I highly recommend the Active 2 for that. Two of my kids, I got one of them for Christmas, paid my own cash money. This is a sponsor, but I'm just saying I like it so much. They gifted me an Active 2, and I gave that to one of my sons, my 13-year-old, because I use the Balance. And I liked it so much, and my kids liked it so much that I went and bought my 11-year-old the same watch. It's $99 and it has all the functions they would need. It's sleek looking, up to 10 days of battery life. I'm telling you, the battery life is crazy. And Olympic gold medalist Gabby Thomas uses this watch. Go to us.amazfit.com and use the code ANOTHER for 10% off your order. us.amazfit.com. Use the code ANOTHER for 10% off your order. All right, friends, back to the show. Yeah. So the overtraining, that was Bowerman. And then, like, when you were with Bowerman, did you feel like you were overtraining? And then with the Team Boss atmosphere, why was Team Boss so short lived?
Yeah, I think a big part of it was, yeah, I kind of like fell back into the overtraining again. I think like, I don't know, I just like for some reason was not in like a great spot, just like mentally and in life. And I think that like that's like pretty hard to be in a group when you feel like you're not showing up as the best version of yourself. And I think great, like Team Boss has such a great like dynamic and atmosphere. And so it felt like, man, I feel like when I'm not able to match the energy, it just, you know, almost becomes like draining and more stressed out that you're like not able to be your best self. And so I think, yeah, I don't know if it was kind of like burnout or kind of going through a couple different like periods of time where I was like kind of overtrained and getting frustrated that I was kind of felt like I was getting in my own way. And, you know, like people say, like, just like your grip is too tight on your goals and you're just trying to like force it. I just kind of felt like I was in that mindset where I was getting really too wrapped up in my identity like as a runner and kind of losing sight of like that balance and everything else. So I felt like I just really needed to take a step away from the group environment and like really work through those things. And I think, you know, that was I was hoping that I could do that like in the context of Team Boss because I had moved, my family's in Colorado, so I had moved home and I'm like, okay, I think I can be in a group and be here. But yeah, for whatever reason, I just felt like I needed some time away from a group to be able to do that. And like I said, I'm so grateful for like my family and for Jared and my support system that I feel like made it still feel like a very supportive team environment when you're kind of out on your own for a little bit.
So, like, when you were moved to Boulder, you kind of felt like being close to your family would give you more of a like work-life balance situation?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it definitely did. I think I just again, I think I just needed to do things a little bit differently for a little bit. But yeah, I have like one of my best friends since elementary school lives there and she has like a young 2-year-old daughter, so like that was really fun to be there for the last year and a half and like watch her grow up. And you know, have one of my sisters isn't in state but one of them is in Colorado, and I feel like both of them are like they're really supportive of my running, but they're also like just interested in a lot of other things. So it's really fun that like, they it's just much easier to feel like I can kind of, like, disconnect from running when I'm
Mm.
with them because they're just, like, joking around and they like I said, they're supportive. Like, I don't know how to say this. They're supportive, but they also, like, don't care in the best way, you know? Like, they're not gonna be
Yeah,
like, "How was your workout today?" Or they're not gonna be
totally.
like, "Oh, you had a bad workout?" Like, we literally don't care. So yeah, that's been a nice balance.
Oh, that's so good.
Mm.
Okay, so you got that year and a half near your family. Big step moving across the world-ish. Was there anything else you did aside from, like, stepping away from the team environment and being closer to family and friends to, like, help find your way back to, like, where you wanted to be?
Yeah, I think not to, like yeah, not to, like, keep talking about Jared, but I feel like
Oh, yeah.
he was just, like, so helpful with that. Like, I think, like, when we started working together, like, he just kind of was helping me again set goals that are, like that just, like, weren't related to outcome, and I remember we kind of went through a bit of, like, a rough patch in training even before USA's in 2025, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, like, there's just no way I'm gonna be ready to make this team," and that was probably, like 3 weeks or a month out from USA's, and, I, like, vividly remember we had, like, one workout that just, like, went so horribly, like and it was just a tempo
Mm,
workout too, like, it was just, like, I was just yeah, I don't really know what happened, just not feeling like myself, and, like, I felt like I was kind of letting, like, USA's and the championship and, like, being top 3 and making the team just, like, my sole focus to where it was just, like kind of debilitating, and I remember, like, going into his office on the NAU campus, and we just had a really, really good talk of, like, yeah, it's so easy for, like, you to think that, like, the only successful, like, mark on the season is, like, being top 3 and making the team, but he's like, "There's just, like, so much more to it, and there's so much
mm,
progress that we've made in different areas that maybe can't be seen in results," and he was like, "I just want you to, like, show up there and, like, you know, feel like yourself and feel like you gave it your all," and like I said, it does like, I feel like out of context, it sounds so cliche when it's like, "Just show up and, like, give your best effort," but it's like, I feel like when you hear that from a coach too, even though, like, myself and Jared and, you know, like, everyone is aware of, like, yeah, like, you have a contract and, like, this is your livelihood and you also wanna perform and you've, like, you know, spent your whole year building up to these championship like, everyone knows that there's a lot riding on the line, but I think, you know, just the times that he, like, really kind of pulled me out of that, like, outcome-based mindset
mm.
was really helpful, and I think, um like, it's interesting to think all the way back to, like, 2021 Olympics, but I think that's kind of when it, like, really started for me is, like, when I was in that final and I saw, like, "Okay, this is, like, what you need to do to be on the world stage," and I felt like, "Okay, I have to, like, level up to be top 5," and it's like, I wish, like, if I could go back and tell something to, like, Elise in 2021, it was just like, you just have to, like, be consistent and, like, stay healthy and, like, keep having fun with it because it's like, the more you try to, like yeah, like, force your way into the top 5 or, like, just pile on volume and make the workouts harder is, like, that's not the answer to getting there, and so I think, um yeah, I think just, like, Jared helped me, like, broaden my perspective again too, and, I was also working with, a strength coach, Chris in, Boulder too, and I think he helped me also by, like, okay, let's look at, again, just, like, broadening kind of my, like, horizon a little bit instead of, like, looking at it as, like, 1 championship per year, it's like, okay, how can we focus on, like, building so, like, Elise is the best version of herself at, like, the Olympic trials in 2028, and sometimes just, like, looking at it with a more long-term perspective can, like, be really helpful of like, okay, are you, you know, getting a little bit better month by month, year by year, like pushing the needle forward instead of needing to feel like you're having this crazy progress like week to week or within a season. It's so kind of looking more at kind of like those macro patterns, I guess, and yeah, just like zooming out a little bit, I think was really helpful.
So I imagine, like, choosing this group, like M11, felt like a really major decision. Like, you could essentially probably join any group you really wanted to. Um, And so, yeah, like talk about like did that feel weighty and you kind of gave yourself time to like be without a group, but you know that that environment ultimately will help you succeed. So, yeah, like how does that feel?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really big decision, and it's funny because there's so many people, like, you mentioned this earlier, but when I'm like, "Oh, I, like, wanted to move home to be close to family," and then now
Yeah.
people are like, a year a year and a half later, like, you're spending, like, 10 months of your year in, like, South Africa and Manchester, which is, like, not even in like, it's like I only have a few hours a day to even, like, speak to my family on the phone, so it's like it is so, like, funny, and it's like if you ask me like, I remember I was in flag, like, training with Jared in person a year ago, and it's like, if you asked me, like, where I would be in a year, I, like, never would have thought I would be training in South Africa. But yeah, I think it was a really, really big decision, but I kind of think, like yeah, like, not to sound, like, dramatic at all, but I talked to my parents after, like, Tokyo World Champs this year, and
Mhm.
I was like I kind of came to the point where I was like, I need to do something different, or like I feel like I don't want to continue with the sport. And so for me, it was almost like
Mm.
um, a very big decision, but also in some ways, like a weight was lifted, if that makes sense, because it just felt like I'm going to be doing something so different. And even just like being like in a different culture and with different people that I had never met before in a different place. And, I think sometimes I feel like I've heard this from people before. It's like sometimes you have certain like habits or like mindsets that you get stuck on. Like I think for me, it was very much like tied to like the overtraining and always needing to do like more, more, more. And so I think sometimes is like, at least for my brain, is like I needed a pretty drastic change to kind of just like totally trust like a new program and try to let go of these things that I feel like from like a mindset perspective were really holding me back of just like doing too much and like being very like locked in training a specific way. So I think in a lot of ways it was a big decision, but it's been like very refreshing too. And like I said, like I think I got to the point where I was like I really like loved my first couple of years at Bowerman where like it's so hard every day because you're, like,
Mm.
getting your butt kicked and you're finishing, like, half the workouts, and so it's, like, can be really frustrating, but it's also, like, you're seeing progress on, like, a day-to-day and a week-to-week basis, which, like, um, I always joke with people, I'm like, I'm so jealous of people that are, like, just starting to run, like, either at, like, the high school level or people that are, like, just starting to do marathons and they, like, haven't run at all because I'm like, the, like, rate of improvement is,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
so exciting, and I'm like, "Oh," like, that's something that I feel like, when you get to, like, a certain point is, like, you're not dropping, like, 10 or 15 seconds anymore, it's like you're doing the same thing or a little more to drop, like, the tiniest margin, and so, I feel like in some ways it feels yeah, like I said, kind of like I was just starting at Bowerman again in terms of just, like, you have so much to learn, which I think there's 2 sides to it. It's like one side, it's, like, quite daunting because 'cause you're like, "Oh my gosh," like, you're really exposing your weaknesses, which is, like, not the most comfortable thing, but I also think it's really exciting to think to be able to, like, truly, like, compare yourself to yourself and say, "Oh, I did this workout 2 months ago, and now I'm doing it again," and it's, like, a little bit faster and just, like, even in the gym is like, "Oh, I've never done this exercise before," or, like, I'm seeing myself lift more weight 2 weeks later, and so, um, yeah, that part I feel like just being able to see progress is something that's really fun.
What were you thinking your weaknesses were or what's being unveiled to you?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I kind of thought like, as we were talking about just like the kick at the end of championship races. But I think I've spent the last like probably 5 to 6 years, which I'm so grateful for Jerry and Joe and Jared for helping me like build my aerobic base. Like I feel like I have
Hmm.
a really like strong foundation and I feel like I've seen huge gains in that sort of in my strength and like tempo and thresholds. Um but I think just like my kind of like the anaerobic side of things and like dealing with lactic and running through it when you're just like so tired and keeping, that kind of like higher end speed stuff, I think um has definitely, like, taken a hit the last couple years, and so I think exposing that and being like, I wanna get that, like, snappy kick back and, like, being able to, handle some of those, like, faster paces in shorter races.
I love it so much. I love what you were saying about the running too, like when you just start. And I think that's what makes like it so exciting as a fan to watch the pros because like you can see gains in your own, like training and racing. And it's not like totally comparable, but like you don't see that with other sports. Like most people aren't going and playing like pickup basketball or like trying to improve like, running is just so universal. And when
Yeah.
someone starts running, you're like, you have no idea what you're capable of. This is going to be so fun to get to witness.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain to a non-runner though.
Yeah, I also am like, oh, I totally agree because I also feel like when you first get into running, like, the first couple of weeks are so horrible, and that's what I tell people all the time. Like, I feel like when I first, like, had my first injury, like, my, like, best friend since growing up, like, hates running, and I never understood it. I was just like, "I don't understand." And then when I had my first injury or, like, took a significant amount of time off, I was like, "Okay, I understand." Like,
Oh yeah.
you feel horrible for, like I actually was having this, conversation with someone on the run the other day of like, how long do you think like someone that doesn't have a running background, like how long would it take them to like quote unquote like feel good, like actually
Yeah, like
enjoy
enjoy
going
it.
for a run? Yeah, which I'm so fascinated by because I always think it's like a little bit longer than you want, but that's what to your point, that's
Maybe
what I
3
tell people. I'm
months? What
like,
do you think?
I think so. Yeah. I think I said that. I think I said like 10 to 12 weeks. Someone was like, that's way too long. And I was like, no, I think that is. So yeah, but it is like, so I'm like, if you just stick with it like 3 months, like you'll start seeing crazy gains and like it will be so fun. You just have to kind of like suffer through it a little bit when you're first getting into
I
running.
know. It's like always trying to explain to someone like I know it sounds weird, but like once you get through like figuring out that like it actually takes 1 or 2 miles to actually like warm up and feel good, like most people don't feel good on the first mile. But in a
Yeah.
new person's head, they're like thinking, well, that's when I'm ready to be wrapped up for the day.
Yeah.
I
No,
just
for
had,
sure.
the haglins on my foot shaved down in
Oh
December,
yeah.
and I haven't run yet, and I'm like, I am already thinking I think maybe I can start running in, like, 4 weeks. I'm not totally sure, just depends on the progress of the healing, but I'm like, I am already thinking about how hard running 1 mile is going to feel. 1 mile.
Yeah, but then you can think about, like, you'll get that spot where you'll see so much
Yeah.
progress. Like, even if you're
Yeah,
getting
it's
into it,
that
I'm
that
like,
fun
it's
part.
so horrible, but it is, like, I feel like you do a mile and then, like, 2 days later, 3 days later, you would do another mile and it would feel so much better, and then the next week you're doing,
Totally.
like, 4 miles, but it is, like yeah, like I said, it's like that double edge where it's, like, horrible, but also you, like, will see progress so quick as you get back into it too.
It's so true. You have to just shift your mindset to like, "Ooh, I get to do this again," instead of like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is so hard." Oh, that's so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay, so are you gonna race like 800s?
I'm probably gonna mostly race 15s, but I would like to race a couple 800s like
Okay.
this summer. I have run 2 flat like a bunch of times, so I've said this to a couple of people. I'm like, I know it doesn't like matter because I'm not going to be competing in the 800, but for me and like my career and
Uh-huh.
like young Elise in high school, like breaking 2 is very, very important to me. So that's something that I
Okay.
would really like to do this year. But mostly 15s.
Do you feel like to make that happen, you just have to be in like a super hot race where like everybody's just like hammer down?
Um, I think I'll probably just need, like, a couple races. Like, I feel like it's similar to
Okay.
the 15, whereas, like, I would do even less 800s. Like, I feel like I would do 1 or 2 a year, and I feel
Yeah,
like with the 8, it's just, like, such a specific, like, feel like, I just am, like I don't think I want a race that's, like, too hot because 'cause I'm already just, like I feel like I'm usually at the back of the first lap anyways.
mm.
But I think I just need, like, a couple races to, like to get into it.
Okay, so talk about that though, because you said you're at the back anyway, and we're talking about the 800. I'm so curious of your mindset when you're racing the 5, and I'm thinking like on a more like American stage, opposed to a world stage, and you know you're probably like the dominant force leader in the group. Like, how do you make decisions like, am I going to lead? Am I going to hang here? When do I like take it to the next gear to make sure like I don't get passed at the last straightaway, even though I've been leading the whole race?
Yeah, no, that's such a good question. I think, and it's interesting, like when you ask that question too, of just like running at like USA's versus like running at the
Yeah.
world level too, is like that's something, when you talk about that, is like that's something that I've like consciously tried to work on from a mindset perspective of like, okay, you insert yourself in the race near the front like at USA's, and it's like if you say that you want to be top 3 to 5, is like you can't then be like intimidated at the world level suddenly and like race completely different. So that's like really interesting and something that I feel like I've tried to been working on the last couple years. But yeah, I think that's where, like it's so helpful to like work on different ways of doing it in practice. Like I think that's something again that was like quite helpful with Jared, is just like like having workouts that are like very specific to like certain parts of the race too. And like I feel like for a while I wasn't super comfortable like leading a race, but it's like I think working out by myself for a bit, or trying to like make different like moves or pushes or hard reps like in the middle of workouts versus the end versus the beginning is I think it's really just comes down to like practicing those things, so then you can like trust yourself and like listen to that intuition in races. But yeah, it's like I said, I feel like I'm still like learning how to do it depending on like what race I'm in, or who I'm racing against, which is something that I like really want to be more consistent of. Like you should just show up and, have that like confidence and that assertiveness no matter what race you're in, not just like at this race versus at this race. So yeah.
Gosh, it's so hard. Like I would love to be in your brain on one of those world stage races, because it's like you have to have the confidence to put yourself in it, and at the same time, if they are running like an ungodly pace that you like know isn't where you technically are like capable of, like what how do you make that choice in the moment so that you don't like putter out at the end? But it's like I always think about like Meb in Boston in 2014, when like he led the whole race and like nobody had time to catch him, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there were men in that race that were faster marathoners than him in so many ways, but like he got out far enough. And so
Yeah.
there's like so much strategy involved in deciding how to do it.
Yeah. No, it's such a good question. I feel like it's a question that like I grapple with in my mind quite a bit, of like being like, like racing where you're at, but also like not counting yourself out. Like I do feel like it's a really fine balance, but I've also found myself in like quite a few like Diamond League races where I like just am like, I'm just gonna go out and run a really fast time, and then you just absolutely die and have like a totally miserable experience. And so I do think it is like, that's like I'm like there's so many things that I'm working on, but like I feel like that's another thing, which Evan Jager, who is a teammate at Bowerman, was so helpful. I remember having a conversation with him actually before we were both out at the Chicago Marathon a couple years ago watching, and we did a run like before the marathon, and I was just like picking his brain kind of on his like career and like how he was able to like bridge the gap on the world stage. And a big part of what he said was just like the importance of like racing where you're at, and like like how it does take steps to get to your goal. And I think sometimes it's like, oh, we just like want to be at that goal, we want to be at that next step. And I think like I've fallen into that before, where it's like you're just trying to race like a little bit too far above where you're at. And
Mm.
I think like making those goals where it's like a big enough stretch and it's gonna like challenge you and you're gonna put yourself in it, and not just like count yourself out of the race before it even starts, but also like being a little bit realistic with yourself too, which I think is something that I struggle with, because I'm like, well, I just want to do this like really cool thing and I'm just gonna make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
But I think you learn like from trial and error. I think from a couple times of doing that, where you just like create a really painful race for yourself and then you can't even get the most out of yourself. And so I think that's something where it's like the idea of like running your own race. So it's like having the people around you like help get the most out of you and help like push you to a new level, but also being like, okay, how am I going to run this race like in a way that is going to allow me to get the best out of myself versus just like trying to hang on for dear life for like 10 minutes of the race, which is like not a very fun experience.
But, like, it's like those experiences will either like, you learn from I don't know if you wanna call it a failure, whatever it is, like, you
For
learn from
sure.
it, but also, like, taking those r this is always what I've been so fascinated with marathoning too, like, taking those, like, calculated risks because you gotta, like, trust your intuition and your gut, like, maybe this is way too hot for me, but also maybe I'm having, like, a magical day right now,
Yeah, yeah.
and I have to
Which I
believe
feel
that.
like, yeah, you do have to like trust your intuition and like give yourself like a chance to have that magical day. And I think yeah, I think that's where like it's like so helpful to like I like to do this before races, like set a few different goals. So it's like what's your A goal, what's your B goal, so it's like you give yourself a chance to like not count yourself out, but you also give yourself a chance like if you're not having the best day, like you still have a goal instead of just like letting it like
Mm,
all unravel. Um
yeah.
but I do think you do learn like so much from those experiences too. And I think what is really cool about running too, like you were saying, is just it is so universal. And I feel like the experience, like no matter what distance you're racing or what level you're at, like the trial and error of like kind of like listening to your body and figure out your body is like fascinating to me of like, okay, this is my body saying I need to slow down, but I actually know that I have a few other gears here, or like just like being able to trust your body in that way, I think is like is like unique to like everyone has a unique experience with that, but I think like trying to like learn it and kind of like trial and error with that is a really fun part of the sport too.
I know, like, competing at the level you compete at, like, just full on professional here, but, like, what's your best mind trick when, like, you really wanna not keep pushing, but, like, you have to? I mean, it's like I sometimes feel silly asking people like you this question because you're, like, such a professional, but I still wonder, like, you have to have some mental gymnastics going on sometimes.
For sure. I mean, I don't think it's a silly question at all in terms of like like I say, I feel like everyone at every level. I was just talking to a college class the other day and I was like, it's been so refreshing even as a professional to think like everyone that you line up against like also has like doubt and negative thoughts, and it's just like who's the best at dealing with it. But it's like no one, you just like you don't ever completely get rid of that, it's like,
Mm.
so I think that's a really refreshing thing to be like everyone's dealing with that on every start line, and there's always that like doubt or those moments where like your brain's telling you can't do it. So I think something that's like really helpful for me is just always like breaking it down into more manageable pieces. Like I remember the first time I ran the 10K and being so overwhelmed when I saw like 17 laps still to go on the lap counter. And so I think that's with any race, and it's like I can't even imagine that with a marathon. Like even if you've made it 18 miles, it's like you still have 8 miles to go. And so that's always been like really helpful for me. It's just like breaking it down, whether it be like mile by mile, lap by lap, even if it's just like okay, just like make it 10 more seconds, make it 5 more hard steps. Like that's always like really helpful. Otherwise, I feel like it's just too overwhelming. And then I think, like I said, I think setting like a few different goals for the race is something that's really helpful for me, because I think my best example of that is I ran a 10K last year, and we wanted to go for like the American record and run sub 30, and it like became quite apparent probably
Oof.
like halfway through that I was like, this is just like unfortunately not happening today. But it was good to have like other goals. It's like, okay, the B goal is to try to get the world standard, which is like 30-20 or something. Like C goal is to like compete for the win. And so it's like it's really helpful to have that too, because I think it's so easy if you have one goal and you see it slipping away to just like want to like throw in the towel and not keep going. But I tell people it's so helpful to have some other goals or some other things to like think about that keep you exciting, that you're like, okay, even if I'm not having like the best day, there's still like a lot that I can like get out of this race. And like, okay, like I saw the time slipping away and I was like, I just can't think about time. Like I have to think about like trying to be top 3 or like trying to win this race. And so I always think that's helpful too, because it just helps you like shift your focus and refocus on a new task, instead of like, sometimes I think if like that first goal goes away, it's hard to know like, okay, what do I focus on, and feel like you're kind of like floundering and it's hard to find motivation. So I think it's so helpful when you have like a few different things, so you can like shift your focus and you still feel like you have like purpose in that race. And I think when people have purpose to like, the pain and the suffering that they're
Mm.
going through when they're running, it's makes it much more like meaningful and doable, versus like, oh, my goal is sliding away, like what am I doing this for? So I think that's like really helpful too.
Ooh, so good. I'm sure other people are wondering, what did you run that day in the 10,000?
um oh man, I don't even remember, honestly.
Well, what goal did you hit? Do you remember what goal you hit? Did
I
you
hit the
win?
goal of winning the race, yeah.
Of running the
Which
race.
was like,
Okay.
which was quite good. Like I said, I think the time, like, I don't know, I wanna say it was like 30:45 or 30:50. Um, and it's that type of thing where it's like we went through in like 14:59 or 15 flat. So it was like I had a very big positive split, like was dying big
Mm.
time.
Oh,
but
it's the
but I think
worst
it was,
feeling.
it's like,
Whew.
that's what keeps you focused, it's
Yeah.
like, like it could have been so overwhelming to be like, I'm just slowing down so much, and then it's like you get so much in that negative thought cycle, versus like, okay, like people start to catch up with you, but now you're saying, I'm gonna like link on, I'm gonna like stay here, I'm gonna make sure I stay in contact. Like I just think when you have those like shifts in focus, there's so many more cues that you can tell yourself, versus like, yeah, everyone knows that negative spiral when it's like, I can't do this, I'm dying, everyone's pulling away. It's like you want to get out of that space as quickly as possible.
What makes you remember your times? Like, is it just a few PR, or like, is it like, oh, I remember specific times if it's like a world stage or a championship?
I feel like I'm honestly not too good at
Are you?
remembering times. Like if you
Yeah.
ask me like what I ran at certain Olympics, like I wouldn't be able to tell you. I would say like
Really?
mostly like PRs, or like races that I felt like were very like memorable, or like kind of like a breakthrough. Um yeah.
Would you consider yourself like middle of your career? Like early middle even still?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
w
I appreciate that, that's
yes. How do
nice.
you view, like, I mean, it sounds like you have really worked through, like, what matters, right? Like, obviously, these big goals, like medals and things like that, are like things you want to accomplish. But like, have you thought through, like, at the end of the day, whenever it's over, like, what will make me feel like satisfied with this career and like very happy with what I put into it?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think that ties so closely to me like making the move to M11, or like just when I think a lot of it has come out when I've like moved training groups, and just thinking like, I think that's something that I was actually like very inspired by with Kate Grace, who was a teammate of mine at Bowerman, because I feel like she kind of was on like several different teams during her career.
Mhm.
And I think for me, like when I was younger, like I would be like, oh, I was probably just gonna like stay at Bowerman my whole career. Like I didn't even really think of, like, it just didn't seem like, yeah, you like move around that much. But I think, when you ask that question, and like thinking about that now, is like I just don't want to like end my career and like have any regrets. And I think continuing to like get out of my comfort zone, or identify like, this is what I need to work on, like where is the best spot to do that. And I think that's where I'm going to be able to look back and think like, okay, I like didn't stay somewhere for too long that like wasn't working, if that makes sense. Like, and I wasn't afraid to like try
Mm.
new things. So I guess like, yeah, I think for a while, like, my mindset was probably, like, a little bit afraid of, like, uncertainty and going out of your comfort zone. And it's like, okay, you've had, you know like, I think that was really hard for me when I was leaving Bowerman. I was like, I've had so much success with this group and under Jerry, and people were like, "Why would you leave?" Especially, like, before an Olympic year. But I think it's, like, having that confidence in yourself too, of, like, yes, like, this program has worked really well for me, but I also have, like, other goals that I haven't yet accomplished, and like I want to keep like leveling up and take that step up. And so um I think that's part of it too, is just feeling like, yeah, like I guess at the end of the day, you can't control if you like reach your ultimate goals, which I think is sometimes very scary when you're like especially like as a professional and it feels like wow, you're, like you're dedicating like 10 plus years of your life to like this
Mhm.
pursuit. But I think, for me, it's going to be looking back and think like I left no stone unturned and I wasn't afraid to like make changes or like embrace that uncertainty to see if, like maybe there was like a different way of training. Like I think that's something too is like being a little bit more like flexible and adaptable and that's a word that Jared and I were really big on, like, the last year and a half was,
Mm.
like, being curious and curiosity and, like, let's just be curious to see, like, what we can do, and I think, that's, like, a big thing that I've really focused on with my transition to M11 too, is, like, okay, let's just be curious about how, doing a, like, much more, like, high intensity, like, lower focus on aerobic a little bit lower volume, like putting in some cross train, like how, like let's just see what happens. Like let's see how that works. And I think, yeah, I think just having that kind of like exploratory mindset, and not being afraid to like try new things and kind of like again tinker with like trial and error. Like I think, yeah, I think that's quite hard for most people who are like perfectionists. Like that's definitely me. Is like you just want to like figure out what works perfectly and you don't want to have all this trial and error. But I think, being a little bit more like flexible and thinking like, okay, let me find like what works for me. And I think, part of that too is I think when I was younger, I would be like very much like, oh, what works for this person or this person has like
Mm.
accomplished what I want to do. Like I'm just gonna like do what they do. And I think there's like a fine line between like learning from people that have done what you want to do, but also like trusting yourself and saying like, okay, I'll take these pieces because I know this will help me, but like maybe I respond well to this, or like how people prepare for races. It's like some people like to be by themselves, some people like to be super locked in. It's like I feel like I've found like I really like to like be with my family and like not thinking about the race right before. And so I think,
Mhm.
all of that too is just like figuring out really like what works for you and like owning it and sticking to it and like not being afraid to like learn along the way and tweak things. But yeah, that was kind of a very like long-winded answer to your question. But I think, yeah, just like leaving no stone unturned and not being afraid to explore different avenues or try new things.
I love that you just like to be with your family before a race and just kind of like
Yeah.
sounds like your sisters really bring that like casual energy that like as serious as you are at the end of the day, this is just running. It's a
Yeah.
very big deal, but like we've got these big full lives outside of this too.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No,
good.
it's kind of like we were saying at the beginning. It's like I feel like I can be like really focused for that like X number of minutes on the track and like the warm up and stuff leading up. But it's like I like to think about the race probably like a week or 5 days in advance. And then those last couple days, it's like, okay, the thinking, the goal setting, like it's all been done. It's like now we just have to be in like a calm, happy, excited, like
Peaceful. Yeah.
grateful, peaceful spot. Yeah.
Oh, it's so, so good. We'll wrap up soon. You're doing a lot more like cross training type workouts with M11, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And are you
I feel like
liking that?
I am. I am. I grew up swimming since I was like 8 years old, so I have quite a big background in swimming, like swam throughout high school. Just love how it feels on my body, and I think
Mm,
that's been really fun too of just like there's a couple people on the team that swim, so like Georgia and Kaylee bike, so there's like a little bike club for cross training. We have a little swim club for cross training, so it's also so fun to have teammates to do it with. But again, I think in terms of like keeping things like interesting too, it's nice just to like replace some of those like double runs that I was doing where you would just like go out by yourself and be super tired. And it's like, okay, let's swim, like get a little bit better at swimming again, like something else to focus on, but also be like getting a really good aerobic hit without like slashing our legs. So, yeah, it's been fun. I kind of started that a little bit with Jared. We did a little more like swimming and aqua jogging, and I really liked that last year. So it's been fun to like incorporate that a little bit more even.
so how many days a week are you swimming? And when you swim, like how far are you swimming on average?
Um, Probably on average, like around like 2,800 to 3,000 meters.
Okay, that's a
So nothing
lot.
too crazy.
I mean, as a non-swimmer, I feel like, man, if I could swim that much multiple days a week, I'd be feeling really in shape.
It is funny I feel like when you talk to
But you grew up a
non-swimmers,
swimmer.
like, yeah, I feel like when you talk to non-swimmers too, they're like, which I'm just, like, always fascinated, like, people that, like, swim, like, in college or high school or professionally, like, I'm just like, the amount of, like, swimming volume that you can do compared to running because it's
Oh, yeah.
non-impact is crazy, like,
Yeah.
mind-blowing. But it is funny because I feel like I talk to some of my friends that aren't swimmers, and they're like, "Oh, so do you just, like, swim straight, easy?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no, like, you have to do, like, you have to create, like, a session and a workout," and they're like, "You do that
Uh-huh.
every time you swim?" And I'm like, "Yes, trust me, like, it breaks it up way better
You'd
mentally
be
than
so
if I were to
bored.
just go for, like, 2,000 or 3,000 meters straight." So, yeah, and it is so much better with people, so that's what I've said. I was like, Aaron Wallace and I have been swimming, and we, like, switch off bringing set ideas so, like,
Oh, fun.
we don't get bored. So, yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. Okay, and you said how many days a week?
Usually, like, 3 days a week.
Okay, 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Susanna Sullivan is, like, notorious for she swims every single day. I mean, she's still running
Wow.
high mileage, but she swims every single day.
Oh
Speaking of
my
her,
gosh.
do you ever wanna run a marathon?
I would like to. I
Like, as a
definitely am
pro or, like,
intrigued.
once you're retired?
I think as a pro, yeah, which
Okay.
is funny because that's where everyone jokes me. They're like, "I feel like people only move up in distance," and
Yeah,
I'm
you're
like,
going
"Yeah, I'm,
back.
like, kinda moving down this year." But I do, talking about, when I did that run with Evan Jager, just, like, that first, I went to Chicago for, like, a Nike appearance, and that was my first, like, major marathon, and I just, like, the atmosphere and, like, when you talk about running being universal, like, seeing so many people like that you're like, have like worked and just like fit in training somewhere, and it's like so impressive. Like the number of people that you see in these pace groups where it's like there's just like hundreds of people running like 6:30 pace, 7 minute, like any pace, but like finishing a marathon. It's just like so impressive. But I do love like the atmosphere of it of like
Hmm.
you have the pros, but like the majority of the people racing a marathon like are not pros. And I just like, I don't know, I love that. And I would love to be like a part of like a major marathon day. I feel like it's just, yeah, the energy is infectious. It's like I feel like so like pure running too.
Okay, tell me if I'm wrong. You're a track girl through and through. Do we not see you on the roads much? Am
No,
I wrong?
I haven't really done any road racing at all, which is, like,
At
funny because I
all?
feel like
Okay.
yeah, I'm like,
Are
I
you
should do some,
interested?
like, 5s or 10s, it would be fun. Yeah,
Or
I
just
think
like
I
a
would definitely
mile
even a
now that you're
mile,
wanting
I
to do
actually
the
have
15 more?
yeah, I've never done 5th Ave, so that's, like, definitely on my bucket list too, but any sort of I think I've done, like trying to think, maybe it was, like, high school or college. In Boulder, they have, like, the Pearl Street Mile, so I think that's the only thing I've done, but I had so much fun, so I would
Really?
definitely be open
Okay.
to that.
Okay, because as I was saying that, I was like, maybe she's done roads and you haven't just like seen it or paid attention. Yeah,
No,
because like
no, I
you're a
haven't.
5,000 specialist, like you could also do things like the 5K New York City Marathon weekend, things like that. Why have you
Yeah.
never done? Because I guess is that typical? Like you don't because you see people crossing over, but like you don't
I feel like people cross over quite a bit. It's like it's
more.
actually
Okay.
so funny. My dad would love that you're saying this because I feel like for
Oh,
the last 3 or 4 years, like, especially when I was, like, kind of, like, struggling with running a little bit and, like, not sure like, just feeling burnt out, he was like, "I feel like you just need to, like, get on the roads, like, you just need to do something different. You just need to go to this 5K and go to this 10K." So he'll love that you
oh,
said that.
good.
Like, I
Okay.
don't know why I don't know why I haven't, but I definitely like, I feel like I have a lot of friends or you just see a lot of people in the running world. I feel like especially in the fall, like, I feel like breaking up fall training by, like, doing some of
Mm.
those races, but you still get to be around for marathon weekend and kinda be in it, so
Yeah, super
yeah, I
fun.
don't have a good answer for why I haven't, but, like, it's something that excites me and I would love to do at some point.
Oh, yay. Okay, so we'll look forward to that. Um,
Yeah.
first we'll super look forward to seeing your like focus on the 15 a little more. And then in like 6 years, I just made that up. We'll look forward to you running a marathon. Um,
Perfect.
okay, we'll wrap up here with End of Podcast. What's something professionally or personally that you would like to do that you have not done yet?
I guess I'm working on getting my master's in public health right now, so
Oh,
I would say
cool.
personally finishing that. I'm like taking it like very slow, just like one class a quarter, but I would say that's like a big thing in my like personal checklist that I want to make sure like I see through.
And where are you taking classes through?
Through George Washington University, so it's really nice because it's online and meet for class once a week, and the rest is asynchronous, which is like works
Nice.
very well with the schedule. So yeah,
I love that you're doing that. Okay, professionally?
I would love to, man. Um,
It's a hard question after our conversation of, like, not defining success by, like,
yeah,
what that
I
A
know. I'm
goal
like,
is.
I feel like a medal is a very like an Olympic medal is probably like the very like I don't know like top choice, but I think um just as we were talking about, I think for me, just like, um, if I look back on my like career, I would love to break 30 in the 10K, 14:30 in the 5K, um, 3:55 and two flat. Those are just like, I feel like benchmarks that I've kind of like had for myself for a bit. So I think those, yeah, would probably be what I would say.
Love it. Does seeing, like, Grant Fisher and people like that, medal on the world stage, does that give you, like, inspiration or, like, motivation that I can do it too?
For sure. Like, I think, that was so cool about the Paris Olympics. I think just seeing like so many people from the US like get medals on the distance side and like Cole Hawker. I think, even seeing I didn't make the final in Tokyo at the World Champs last year, but I think seeing like Shelby and Josette go like fourth and sixth and just like start kind of like really working their way up into like the top six, top five, like yeah, it makes you so like excited and it is so infectious to think like, okay, if this person can do it, like I can do it too. And I think, I think that's similar to what we were talking about where it's like when you just realize like, okay, everyone like has doubts or everyone has negative thoughts. Like I think it's fun, especially I think with Grant too, just like having been teammates with him in college and then been teammates with him at Bowerman too is like it's cool to like see someone accomplish something but also have seen like their day in and day out and think like okay they're like really like he's super dedicated and focused and meticulous but like he's also just like a normal person too, which I
Okay.
think sometimes make it nice to be like, like it's nice to be like, okay, you're not like you have this goal, but you don't have to be some like superhuman person to
Mm.
accomplish something that you want to, which I think is nice too.
Okay, best, most recent, or favorite all-time book that you have read?
Oh, oh my gosh. Probably Anxious People by Frederick
Mm.
Bachman is probably one of my all-time favorites. It's like it really surprised me. Um Marielle Hall recommended it to me a couple years ago, and I don't know, I just loved his writing style, and yeah, that's probably one that stands out. Oh, and the other one is When Breath Becomes Air, which is also
Mm.
like really good if anyone hasn't read it. Like really, if you want to really think about like the meaning of life and get really deep, it's like very sad and very deep, but very, very good.
I've, like, always heard that recommended, and I'm, like, scared to read it because I have a hard, like, I don't know, the death thing and it
Yeah,
just all, like, if I think about it too much, but I also know based on what people have said that it, like, just gives you a deep appreciation for the life you get to live.
yeah, it is very worth it, but it's definitely not like a read before bed, like, get you relaxed type book,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel.
It's one of the most, I would say, recommended for sure. Last message to leave with the audience today.
Set big goals that scare you, but, like, make sure you celebrate the steps along the way to get there, and, like, really make sure you're stopping along the way to, like, take in what you're learning or the experiences or the places you're going or the connections or the people you're meeting, like, I think yeah, that sounds very cliche, but I think that's, like, really what makes it meaningful, and so, like, don't be afraid to, like, set those big, scary goals and, um, share them with people so you can be held accountable to celebrating the steps along the way to get there, and that's a meaningful part whether you get there or not.
Elise Cranny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Thank you, Elise, for joining us. What a fun guest to have on the podcast and an honor to have you back on the show. You all can learn more about anything we talked about, including links to books, links to sponsors I mentioned, including Amazfit, Previnex, and Noogs at sandyboyproductions.com. When you go there, you can also check out all the other shows in our network, which is quickly growing. And actually, we have a really exciting announcement coming up. And you can find Sandy Boy Productions on Instagram, as well as myself, Lindsay Hine 626. I'm so grateful for each of you being here and spending your time with us on this podcast. It means so much to me. I've been doing this for almost a decade now, and I know some of you have been with me this whole time. Some of you are new. So if you've been here the whole time, thank you. And if you're new, welcome. I hope you'll stick around, and can't wait to see you and talk to you next week on I'll Have Another with Lindsay Hine podcast.